Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and today I will be sharing with y'all my new theory about In Space with Markiplier. So unfortunately, my last theory video I made about In Space with Markiplier was incorrect, but it was still a very, very fun time just watching it. I watched it like 3 times at this point, trying to find all the Easter eggs and stuff, and yeah, I really recommend it. I really recommend trying it out at least once before watching this video, so that way you're not too confused. So yeah, besides that, let's begin. So in my last video, I predicted that In Space with Markiplier would be telling us the origin story of Abe and pretty much how he pretty much became, the detective that he is in Who Killed Markiplier and in Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache. And although we did not see Abe, we did see a certain someone known as Wilford Wharfstache. Now, we do only see him for like a very short period of time, and he only says like pretty much, no, go away, get out. We meet in part 2 is what he says. So we'll be seeing more Wilford Wharfstache in part 2 of In Space with Markiplier. That has been confirmed. But the main reason I brought up the fact that Wilford Wharfstache is in this In Space with Markiplier is because it fully actually confirms where this video is in the Markiplier timeline. So, based off of the design that Wilford Wharfstache is wearing whenever you first meet him, he is wearing the same clothes that he wears in Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache. Now, this might not be fully correct since he is only just talking about how, we're going to actually meet up in part 2. We're not meant to meet up in part 1. That's pretty much what he says to you. So, if his design changes in Space with Markiplier part 2, I might move this to somewhere else on the timeline, but for now, this is all the proof we got. And I just want to quickly put this out there as well. If this is the same Wilford Wharfstache from the actual Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache video, and we might end up having Abe as well in part 2 of In Space with Markiplier, because Abe, his plot point in Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache is just he's been hunting down Wilford Wharfstache for years and years. So maybe we'll see him on the ship trying to look for Wilford as well. Who knows? I guess we'll find out whenever part 2 comes out. But wait just a second, this video isn't over yet. We still have tons of more questions besides where it falls on the timeline. So now, let's talk about the endings. So, unlike a heist with Markiplier, this video only has a couple endings, which, I think is probably for the best lore-wise and stuff. Also, since there's multiple parts coming out, I get why there's not just a million other endings. So yeah, I get it, and I respect it. But in the main ending, you end up seeing this kind of older dude who ends up trying to, attack you and stop you from doing what you're gonna do. Now, he looks kind of older, and he also says how you and him have been battling for years and years or something like that, and how this is a big final good versus evil showdown. So obviously he has opposite intentions, and he most likely thinks that you're in the wrong. And the thing that stands out to me is how at the very end, when he ends up succeeding, he looks at you and he says, "I forgive you." So obviously you and him have some sort of past that your character is not aware about. Now, this is pretty obviously an older version of Markiplier, and by that I mean the same Markiplier who you're with throughout the entire In Space with Markiplier video. The one who you're, the head engineer Markiplier. And I have a feeling that, he's going to be explored more throughout part 2, and if there's a part 3, maybe part 3 as well. I don't think we're yet supposed to fully know everything about him and why he's all of a sudden this old man who disagrees with you. I'm pretty sure that should be explored in the other parts of In Space with Markiplier. But I'm willing to bet it has something to do with the paradox and other universe type stuff that everybody keeps on talking about in that video. But there's one other ending that I would like to talk about, mainly because it kind of has me questioning a lot of stuff. Now, I am talking about the grandma ending. Now, of course, the reason I'm so confused about it is because, well, it's about a grandma that you've only seen one other time in the video. So, I have a feeling if this is just like how you got to see the old version of Markiplier in the other ending, I think in this ending you're seeing an old version of somebody you've already met. Now, there's only really two possible candidates. Now, it's either the alien girl who's been trying to stop you this entire time, which I don't fully know if that would be a good answer, because, well, the grandma looks like a human grandma, not an alien grandma. And then the only other human girl that's really important to the story is this one right here. I forgot her name, so I'm just showing her up on the screen. So it might possibly be her. It can't be Celine, which is the only other recurring girl character in the Markiplier lore. It can't be her. Based off of where we already put it in the timeline, she would have already died and became Darkiplier already at this point. So yeah, it's most likely the lady with the big jacket. But wait, there's more. There's still one last scene, one last video that's making me question all of this. Now, of course, I am talking about this scene where our character pretty much becomes self-aware, I guess you could call it. Pretty much, he starts walking around the kind of behind the scenes of this video, and you might think, oh, this cool little fourth wall breaking thing, until the character gets to a certain door. You see the door open, and on the other side of the door is Markiplier, and he's being very rude to the people he's working with. And you might think, oh, this is just a kind of cool little behind the scenes thing or something, a little fourth wall breaking deal. But notice the robe he's wearing. It's very, very similar to the robe that he has in Who Killed Markiplier. Now, you might think that this throws off the timeline that I just said, because I just came up at the very beginning of this video. I came up with the theory that pretty much this video is somewhere around the Wilfred Mother-Loving Wharfstache video in the timeline. So, which would be before Who Killed Markiplier, where Markiplier dies. So you might think, oh, how come Markiplier's still here if he's dead? And yes, even though he did die in Who Killed Markiplier, he still ended up possessing Damien's body at the end. And Damien just so happens to be another one of the characters in the Markiplier universe who looks identical to Markiplier. So this can just still be Damien's body continuing on as Markiplier. So it does not throw off the timeline. However, it does throw off everything else, because now I'm not fully sure whether or not all of In Space with Markiplier is staged in the Markiplier lore or not. But there might be a bit of a solution or a bit of an answer to this problem, because we do, like I said earlier in the video, a lot of people in Space with Markiplier talk about there being paradoxes in other universes and all that crazy sci-fi type stuff. So what if this fourth wall breaking behind the scenes clip is just another one of them going onto a different paradox where everything is staged? Although that itself is also kind of confusing and brings up a little bit of questions. But, you know, I'm not fully sure if there's an answer for that yet. We might have to wait until we get more clues in part 2. So yeah, I might do another Markiplier theory video, or I might keep on doing them if y'all do. want to see more of them. Hopefully y'all could actually keep up. I know the Markiplier lore can kind of sometimes get as confusing as the FNAF lore. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know if y'all want to hear any more about any Markiplier related lore stuff, because there's still lots more to talk about that I haven't even covered. And yeah, thank y'all for watching, and goodbye.